Hello, everybody. It's time for more of The Great Ace Attorney. The only thing I can bring myself to do these days. That's mostly a joke. Let's get into it. There we go. Alright. So, we're about to load into a thing. I don't know what... Okay, we're back in 2nd November, 3:38 p.m. Sholmes' suite. At 221 Baker Street. 221B Baker Street. I think. Could be making that up. I still can't quite believe what just happened.
I know. I inquired with the bailiff after the court session was adjourned.
Oh, right. We made fucking... For some reason, Kazuma made the daily guy have a fucking nervous breakdown. That's what happened in the court.
And it seems Mr. Vigil was taken to the hospital to recover.
Right. 10 years ago now, Mr. Vigil attempted to commit suicide by jumping out of the window of the prison governor's office. But ever since then, he's completely blocked the memory of those events from his mind. Guy's so big. Nobody knew his secret, not his family, not even the man himself. But I forced it out into the open. Was it wrong of me to do that? Did I overstep the mark, I wonder?
Nah.
Bruno! It's me, your baby. Oh, Iris.
Is it a baby?
You were miles away. Anyway, I brewed a fresh pot of soothing tea for you. Oh, thank you. You and Supes have had an exhausting day so far, haven't you?
Oh. Thank you, Iris. How thoughtful of you.
Do you happen to know where Mr. Sholmes is? Ignore the yell, that was nothing. When we came out of the courtroom back in the defendant's antechamber, he disappeared. That's me still. Oh, no, I don't know. He just suddenly sprang to his feet and left. All he said was, I must leave. That's not helpful.
I wonder if he's pursuing the mystery of Inspector Gregson's death.
I mean, probably, right?
Well, you know what Hurley's always saying, don't you? There are mysteries in this world that should perhaps never be solved.
Huh.
For the construction of a solution comes only at the expense of the destruction of something else.
What does that mean?
He knows very well that when you open someone else's old wounds, you often open up your own, too. But he just can't take his own advice and leave well alone. Solving mysteries is too important to him.
That's so true, bestie.
That's so true.
But that's what I like about Hurley, after all.
I suppose that's the lot of a great detective in some ways.
So then, let's have tea, and then I'll give you a hand.
What? Huh? Oh, do you have time, Iris?
Yes, I've finished this month's manuscript at last, with barely a day to spare before the deadline.
Oh, I'm so looking forward to it. A brand new story to read in The Adventures of Sherlock Sholmes.
You know, I always hide Hurley's violin in the days before I have a deadline.
You do? Poor Mr. Sholmes.
I'm sure that's very wise, Iris. How sensible of you.
What?
Now then, my dear fellows, let's make a plan of action before we continue our investigation.
You want me to talk to you, I suppose? Yes. This morning's trial.
So, how did it go in court this morning?
Are we allowed to talk about this? Well, we still don't know the truth about what really happened, but one thing's increasingly clear. Lord Van Zieks definitely didn't do it.
Oh, goody.
Don't patronize me.
Yes. Yes, that's right. We managed to uncover several new facts as well.
Oh, really?
And there was another development, too. Kazuma. What we've just told this girl is like, yes, we learned things in the court, and then stuff happened. Crazy, right?
Yes. It's quite clear now that Kazuma-sama is not himself. The way he's acting, it's almost as if he's possessed.
Well, that's silly. Ghosts aren't real.
Ghosts could never possess anybody.
Ghosts aren't real for another 200 years. I know, I mean, at the end of the proceedings earlier, he was like a bloodhound the way he was chasing down Mr. Vigil's forgotten past. He's not normally so mercilessly persistent. What's going on in his head, I wonder? I really need to sit down with Kazuma and try to understand what he's going through. If it lets us do that, I would be genuinely shocked. I assume if we go to Van Zieks' office or whatever, he's just gonna be like, go away!
I never want to see you, you dumb bastard.
If Gregson was really murdered the day before his body was discovered, then Lord Van Zieks has to be innocent, you see.
What? The day before? Well, that should be easy enough to work out, just by examining the corpse, surely.
Yes, you would expect so, but curiously, no time of death was included in the autopsy report.
That is curious.
There are still unanswered questions about Lord Van Zieks, though, aren't there?
Ah, do you mean...
I mean, what was he doing there on Fresno Street that day in the first place?
Well, according to the man's summary, he said he was investigating Inspector Gregson, didn't he?
And it turns out that little room was actually the inspector's secret office.
Ooh, that sounds like it has all the makings of a wonderfully devilish plot.
But then why was that notice board in there covered in all those particular papers? Papers about cases with a link to the Reaper. I'm starting to get a bad feeling about all of this.
Oh dear, that sounds more like something horribly devilish.
We must start by looking into Inspector Gregson's movements of late.
Gregson's movements. Gregson's movesons. I confused myself with that one enough that I had to pause for a second. I never imagined I might have to be investigating an inspector's movements.
Well, according to the entry in his diary, he was carrying out an incognito investigation of the Red-Headed League the day before his death.
Oh, you mean he was doing the same as Hurley?
Well, Mr. Sholmes was trying to apply, whereas the inspector was supposed to be investigating.
I do wish it had been the other way around.
What? Anyway, as it turns out, the inspector who went to investigate the Red-Headed League that day wasn't actually Gregson at all. It was Mr. Vigil in possession of Gregson's identification.
You know what that sounds like to me? Establishing an alibi.
Yeah, that's what we said.
Oh my. Yes, you're absolutely right, Iris.
But why would Gregson need an alibi?
It would appear that the inspector had something to do that he wished to keep secret.
Ah, choking. Oh god.
I don't believe it. I always thought he was just a harmless lover of fish and chips.
Perhaps they were seasoned with something a little more potent than salt and vinegar.
What?
What the fuck?
What do you mean by that?
Why did... I think perhaps we should try to move away from food analogies.
Well, anyway, if Lord Van Zieks felt the need to investigate Gregson...
Yes, I agree. We must try to find out what he knows.
Mr. Vigil's condition.
Vigil, you say? Isn't that the name of the lady who came to visit Hurley yesterday?
That's right. I asked Mr. Sholmes if he would help her to find her missing husband.
Good news, we found him. Bad news, we broke him. Only Mr. Sholmes completely passed the buck to us. Actually, didn't you say that Mr. Vigil had been taken to hospital? Do you know which one? Probably the only one that there is.
Ah, it's Saint Sinners.
Yep. I'm starting to wonder if all the other hospitals in London have closed down.
But that's amazing, Bruno. You found the lady's husband already.
Well, I suppose I have, by accident. Whoa.
And 10 years ago, while Mr. Vigil was the chief warder at the prison, he was responsible for overseeing the professor's incarceration.
Do you think they're gonna tell Iris about her dead father by the end of this game?
No.
Because it's
I
starting
genuinely
to feel
don't
like
think
no.
so anymore. I think they're just gonna never bring it up. And that bothers me so much. You have no idea.
No.
So when the convict escaped, he was held responsible and immediately dismissed.
Ugh. Sometimes I really don't want to grow up.
There's more. You like that trauma, bitch? There's more. For 10 years after that, while he was ostensibly working as a peddler, he also had another secret job. He was paid by Gregson to be his stand-in, to impersonate the inspector.
To impersonate Gregsy? But why?
I have absolutely no idea.
Ugh. Ginny was right. I'm starting to think all adults are up to no good now. Including you, Bruno.
But I haven't paid anyone to impersonate me.
Yet. That means he has ties to the Professor Inspector Gregson, though. So I do think we ought to pay a visit to Mr. Vigil, don't you?
Back to St. Sinners, then.
Well, I think it's clear what we need to do, isn't it? Let us investigate, my dear fellows.
Oh, Iris, you're even more enthusiastic than usual today.
If anyone has anything to hide, my special Wilson shooting iron will set them straight.
That
just sounds like an actual gun this time.
that water pistol?
It's stuffed full of piping hot extra special blend of mine.
Then I'm quite sure it'll be very effective.
I better be careful not to hide anything. Like, for instance, the death of her father. A year ago. Well, it feels strange that Mr. Sholmes is nowhere to be seen, but still, let's go and see what we can find out.
Yes!
But before we go, have you seen my armband?
Have you seen this armband, though?
Iris, have you seen this? Your armband, the symbol of a defense lawyer in Japan. Bruno, you've shown that to me dozens of times.
Oh, have I? The thing is, I just feel wrong if I don't have it on my arm, you know?
Well, if you ask me, I think you should try wearing something different every now and then.
Oh, really? Like what?
Well, I could make something for you if you like. How about a band that squeezes your arm when the person you're talking to tells a lie?
That's a reference.
Is it?
I'll keep a space free on my left arm then. Yeah, that's a reference to Apollo Justice. He has a band that does that.
Oh! Neat.
Yeah. Yeah, that's all I cared to show you about. No, not examine. Back
So
up.
technically this game just spoiled me.
I guess. I guess I spoiled you if you really want. Let's see if they have another ladder conversation. Or sorry, Spade.
A spade.
2nd November, Naruto's legal consultancy. Ah, it's the same one. Damn. Well. Let's go to the Lord. Okay, we can go to several places. I don't know why we would bother, but since it's an option, let's see who's around. Ah, Kazuma's around. Excellent. 2nd November, British Supreme Court, Lord Chief Justice's office.
All right. No arguments, Prosecutor Asugi. You'll continue with the trial exactly as I instructed. Is that clear? Perfectly. It's Kazuma-sama.
Defying Lord Strongheart by the Strongheart by the sound of it. He never did know when to
Strong
back
what?
down. Strongheart. Ah, they
Strongheart.
rotated towards me.
On your way now, Asugi. My lord.
Ah,
Vroom.
Kazuma. Okay. He left without saying a word. Ah,
Boom. Yes? What are you doing here?
oh, well, I was just hoping to ask you a few questions, if you wouldn't mind.
I wanted Van Zieks' trial concluded today. But Prosecutor Asugi's unwelcome inquiries are going to make it take longer than necessary.
Unwelcome inquiries.
As a result, I'm losing even more precious time. Currently 2 hours, 53 minutes and 41 seconds. 42. 43. Then we must resolve everything before 3 hours have passed, Mr. Naruto.
What? In a miraculous not even 5 minutes? Anyway, I
44,
can't let this man's obvious
45,
bad mood put me off.
46.
I need information.
47. 48. He just fucking keeps going.
Keeps counting, looking straight at you. The Reaper. Does Prosecutor Oski believe that Lord Van Zieks is the Reaper?
I wouldn't know. It was 10 years ago, in that fateful closed trial, that Lord Van Zieks made a name for himself among the judiciary. But the next trial he fought, he lost. It meant the ringleader of a criminal organization was acquitted, thanks to all the jurors being under duress.
But that's awful.
The man's freedom was short-lived. He lasted just 3 days. Yes, let me see. Ah, the windows are bricked up because of the window tax. He does. Is this funny yet? I'm gonna keep going.
Listen, I need to redo all of my Ace Attorney cards for a God game, and I'm definitely going to include some sort of window tax thing.
He died in a rock slide at his place of work, I believe.
That's insane.
It was weird because he didn't work near rocks.
Rocks fell
He
from
was
the
a
sky?
bookbinder. It was crazy. That was the inauguration of the Reaper of the Bailey.
And people believe Lord Van Zieks was responsible?
He was brought to trial himself, but it was shown to have been an accident.
So he must have had a solid alibi then.
Nevertheless, the mysterious deaths continued. In total, 16 persons perished in unusual circumstances, ostensibly at the hand of the Reaper. That's a long run of coincidences.
Yeah, 16 is quite a few, that's true. If it happens once or twice, it's whatever. But if it happens 16 times, I understand why you would think that's suspicious.
No, correlation is not causation, nah. No. Well, the Reaper's true. well.
Damn it. We just can't stop doing it.
I can't stop doing the Reagan well. It's such a problem. It's like trying to say I see, but not as Principal Chalmers. Mercy. It's Superintendent Chalmers. That's what it is.
Yeah.
Superintendent Chalmers. I hope you're prepared for an unforgettable luncheon.
Well, Seymour, I made it, despite your directions.
Ah! Egads, my roast is ruined. Well, I'm not gonna do it again. While the Reaper's true identity may well be revealed by this trial. Damn, that sentence was littered with minefield. And the impact that revelation would have on the British public cannot be understated.
Is that why it's a closed trial?
Precisely.
Closed trial.
Stop having the trial be closed. Open it.
Open the trial.
This country hasn't seen a closed trial for 10 years.
So the last one was the professors. The trial of Genshin Asugi?
Correct?
Actually, we heard that originally you were going to prosecute that trial yourself, Lord Strongheart.
Van Zieks entreated me to relinquish the prosecution to him, that he might avenge his brother's death. And here we are, 10 years later. With the son of the man Van Zieks had condemned, now looking to avenge his father's death in the same way.
They do say that what goes around comes around. I don't know that that applies here.
However, it would seem that the new young prosecutor is harboring some ulterior motive as well.
Kazuma is? No way!
I like my organization to run smoothly, in the exact manner that I prescribe.
Ah,
As with the giant clock in here, I won't tolerate a single cog being out of step with the others.
so that's what all these gears are about in here. It runs one clock? That's a very big clock, too. I'm just now realizing that's the bottom of the clock in the background.
Yeah.
That clock big as hell.
If the young man refuses to mesh with the other parts of my great machine, I will be forced to take steps.
What do you mean? Steps, young Ryunosuke.
Something with which you need to concern yourself. In any case, all your questions will be answered tomorrow.
Now get the fuck out of my office.
Now, I shall have to ask you to excuse me. As of this moment, I've been delayed from attending my next meeting by precisely 3 hours. Oh my, that is a long time. And I hold you entirely responsible.
Well, that doesn't seem fair. Even though we've miraculously managed to fit everything into not even 5 minutes. I wonder if you might agree to us, talking with Prosecutor Asugi.
Discussions between the defense and prosecution outside the courtroom are generally frowned upon. However, I will make an exception in this case. Now go. You can find him in his office.
He already has an office? Oh, thank you.
Let's go see him at once, Mr. Narhado.
Kazuma's my best friend in the world, but I'm really not at all sure I know how to talk to him at the moment. A new location has been added. Must go to the office. How did he have his own office already? Oh, because it's not. It's Van Zieks' office. Never mind. 2nd November. Prosecutor's office. So, this is the... Wait, that means Kazuma built this little model, too. So this is the office of Prosecutor Asugi now, is it? Because Van Zieks has been in jail the whole time.
Kazuma-sama is doing so well for himself.
Even though he's always forced to kneel on the floor Japanese style in that dark corner.
It's his habit to sit Seiza style whenever he's working.
Oh, looks like our journey here was wasted. The prosecutor appears to be out.
So we should discuss things with another prosecutor we might know.
Perhaps. I'm gonna go click on those bats, though, and also that diorama. Let's see, what have we here?
Mr. Naruto, it would be very underhand to glean information from Kazuma-sama's office while he's absent.
Hmm?
We should wait until he's here before we start nosing around.
Oh, of course, yes. She doesn't take any nonsense when it comes to Kazuma, does she?
No. No, she doesn't.
No, those are the same shits. We click on the bats. Bat jump scare! Oh, I'm not allowed to bat jump scare either.
It'd be very underhanded to touch his bats.
Sorry, I'll leave his bats alone, you're right. Alright, let's go visit our favorite vampire. 2nd November. Local prison. Cell 1.
I don't like them from this angle. I don't know why.
It's
It
weird.
just feels weird. What Van Zieks is reading. Look. No, it's pronounced it's pronounced book. For my money, that's the stupidest joke I've ever tried.
No, that one was pretty good.
He doesn't seem like he wants visitors, does he?
But he must have noticed that we're here, surely. Of course I have. You never shut up. Ah,
What do you Nepalese want?
that's no way to greet the lawyer who's trying his hardest to prove your innocence, is it?
Perhaps not.
Hmm?
I apologize. So what can I do for you, Mr. Naruto?
He was instinctively annoyed, but we've made a breakthrough.
Lord Van Zieks, speaking earnestly.
Oh, the fog will lift over London for the first time in months tomorrow.
This does feel very, very strange. Very strange. I don't know where I got that from. It's just a thing I started doing.
Very strange.
Very strange.
A very strange day. So very strange.
Yeah.
I
don't even
must
know what
say,
accent
I
it's
was
supposed to be.
impressed.
Oh, well, thank you.
Not by you. By
Oh.
your fellow Nepalese. Your prosecutor friend.
Oh, I see. Yes.
It's sardonic, don't you think? For a man such as me, so loathing of the Nepalese, to be entirely at the mercy of the two of you. I suppose it's retribution for having played the part of the Reaper all these years.
Played the part. Well, anyway, and we just leave. The Reaper's identity. You once told me that you gladly allowed people to believe you were the Reaper, because it helped reduce the amount of serious crime that took place in London.
If keeping quiet and playing the part benefits the cause, a cause I myself am committed to pursuing, then why would I choose to say anything?
But the henchman of a criminal killed by the Reaper attacked you only the other day. And that was just the most recent of many attempts on your life, wasn't it? Someone is clearly profiting from your silence about all this. Someone is using you.
Believe me, ever since the Reaper first appeared, I've been doing my utmost to expose him, or rather, expose the organization.
Uh-ho.
Ah, it's a whole organization? It's inconceivable that all these accidents were orchestrated by one man. No, the Reaper always appears to have very accurate information about the accused in each case. Which can only mean that somebody at Scotland Yard is involved. Like Gregson.
Like Inspector
Well, I'm
Gregson.
pretty sure is it not by this point.
Yeah.
So oh, someone at you can't mean. It's taken me many years, but I finally identified the central figure in this Reaper organization. Tobias Gregson.
Ah,
No. No!
Gregson, the Reaper? Gasp! Gregson's secret. So, the reason you were investigating Inspector Gregson is because you intended to expose him as the Reaper?
As I said, the Reaper of the Valley is no single person. It's a highly secret organization with close ties to Scotland Yard. But there's no doubt that Kid Gregson was a key member of that organization. I don't believe it.
Are you saying that Grexy, he was behind all those awful criminals meeting their...
Gregson didn't do the dirty work himself. Oh? He was the tactician. His job was to covertly or investigate the marks and plot their assassinations. In order to do that without arousing suspicion, he regularly needed a firm alibi.
Which is where Mr. Vigil came in, posing as the inspector.
Vigil knows nothing of the Reaper. But the room he rents on Fresno Street was almost certainly the headquarters of the operation.
Yeah, I mean, they knew when he used it. They could just be there anytime he isn't.
Gregson would have met the assassin there for briefing.
So we don't actually know who carried out the killings, then.
Actually, I do have a name.
Oh? You what?
If you can name that man, if you can name the man, you have the true identity of the Reaper already then. Or, if I can name the woman. Oh. She's a young woman by the name of Asa Shin.
Yeah, sure, man. I know how it goes, but like...
Asa Shin, huh?
Come on, man. Wait, what? Sheen? I wonder if it's gonna... I think that was one of the names on that note from the end of the first game.
I believe so.
Miss Asa Sheen. The true name of a terrifying killer I know only too well.
Giselle Brett.
She came to Japan posing as a visiting student and murdered Dr. John H. Wilson. Then, just when it seemed that diplomatic protection would help her escape Japan and conviction, the mysterious woman was herself murdered in a small summer beach hut. And that woman was actually the Reaper of the Bailey? Does that mean she had gone back to Japan just to... No, because she was being held in custody. She wouldn't have known about fucking... What's his ass?
So the only reason that the Reaper's never gone international is because the one time she did, she died.
She got stuck in jail and then died.
Does that mean John Wilson was a target of the Reaper? Or was that an unaffiliated hit?
Yeah. Did he just say all that out loud?
Probably. He's dumb. Mr. Naruto,
We
this
might be
perhaps
getting our
isn't
wish.
the place to discuss.
No, of course not. We can't mention it here. The fact that she killed Dr. John H. Wilson. Because Iris doesn't know, and it's very likely that the man was her father. So, she's just looking around like, what's that about?
Asashin. I should let father know at once.
Yes, I agree. Because I'm trying to remember what all the names were. I think one of them, it was Kazuma, Wilson, Gregson, and Asashin, maybe, right? Ashin, something like that. I don't know. This was like 3 years ago.
That sounds really familiar.
Yeah. Prosecutor Asagi. Prosecutor Asagi.
Kazuma, isn't it? Kazuma Asugi. You say he's a friend of yours.
My best friend. He's the whole reason I got to come to Britain. It was all on his merits. I have nothing but respect for him.
Yes, I understand that only the very best students are selected for such opportunities. And I had a fine demonstration of how sharp he is in the proceeding earlier today. He missed nothing. In fact, his flawless performance very much reminded me of his father.
Genshin Asagi, the professor.
It's true that the aristocracy at the time was the root of the numerous grave societal problems. They were abusing their power, playing with the common man as pawns in politics, in economics, in war.
And all of that has changed, for sure.
In many ways, Asuki was carving out a canker from society that we British couldn't deal with ourselves.
Ah, I see.
But that's precisely why it makes no sense. Clint Van Zieks was a noble and upstanding man. He wasn't corrupt. Why did that damned Nepalese have to go and take my brother's life?
Oh, shit.
In spite of having once saved mine.
He saved your life? How did that happen? Saving your life.
It was 10 years ago, on a foggy night. That what was to be the professor's final strike had sent a wave of panic through the capital.
So Clint Van Zieks had already been killed at this point, then.
Genshin and I were walking down some back streets at a late hour. Of course, at that point, I had no idea of the true nature of the man at my side. All of a sudden,
This is gonna be how you got that scratch, I assume. Don't make a peep, you're coming with us! Why, I'm an assassin guy.
I'm a
streetman. Where?
A streetman, not Harvey Streetman. We were surrounded. All of our assailants were armed with pistols, their faces obscured by scarves. They looked pretty cool. Clint was not only from a noble heritage, he was a brilliant prosecutor as well. The scum of London hated the sight of him, and they had no sympathy for his younger brother either. I had been targeted several times before already.
Yeah, it's Van Zieks, alright. We've got him.
Oh, my name isn't Harvey Streetman. I could hear them murmuring amongst themselves. I knew they were after me. But just when I thought my time had come, I guess one of us has to be Genshin Asugi for like one sentence, huh?
Yeah, I can do it.
Do you want
if
to do it?
want. If I let them kill you, Clint would never forgive me.
It was Asugi's voice. Just a whisper in my ear.
That ring he's wearing is extremely prominent. I wonder if that's going to be important later. And also, like, this isn't an image we have, so that's weird. Bang!
And he fucking cut the bullet with his sword. After that, I don't exactly remember what happened. The next thing I knew, there was silence all around. Genshin lay on the cobbled street. Blood was seeping from his left hand. He'd shielded me.
Oh, interesting.
2 days later, they arrested him. On suspicion of being London's most notorious mass murderer ever, Jack the Professor.
Ever, huh?
Ever, and will always be the most notorious. How awful for you. All at once, I lost the brother I revered, and the foreign friend I held in such high regard.
I'm so sorry, Lord Van Zieks.
That's the end of my miserable tale. I never thought I'd recount it to anyone.
Well, thank you for confiding in me.
The Professor, the Reaper, and Inspector Gregson. I wonder just how intimately related they all are.
I still can't quite believe that Gregson was essentially the Reaper. Giving assassination orders to Tazale Brett.
Mr. Naruto, let's go and inform my father. I'm sure our government will want to hear about this new information.
Oh, that means I get to meet your daddy, Susie. Hooray!
Yes, alright. Let's head back to the Great Waterloo Hotel, then.
Goodbye.
A new location has been added. Where?
I'll just hang out here.
In jail. Goodbye.
That's a little joke for you. You Nepalese wouldn't get it.
2nd November, Great Waterloo Hotel. Foyer. Or perhaps foyer, since it's a fancy place.
It's fancy, so it must be foyer. I thought it yesterday, and I think it again today. This place is so princely.
It's a wild guess, but I have a feeling you'll think the same tomorrow, too.
My tea has a finer fragrance than whatever they're serving in the tea room here, though, wouldn't you say?
Eh. Ah, look who we have here. This is an unexpected pleasure. It's me, J. Jonah Jameson.
Ah, father!
Ooh, is this your daddy, Susie? How lovely!
Don't call him that.
What a charming young lady. And you are? Oh no. Is he gonna say it? Ah, really? So you're the author of The Adventures of Herlock Sholmes, are you?
I knew a dead guy by that name.
That's me, Iris Wilson, at your service, sir.
Do it, say it, do it.
Susie's been such a wonderful friend to me over the last year, you know.
Well, Miss Wilson, I must say I read your work regularly and with much interest.
Iris actually lives with Mr. Sholmes, you know, father.
Is that so? Well, perhaps that goes some way to explaining that bright look in your eyes.
Hee hee.
You wouldn't be smiling so airily if you knew just how bright she is, believe me. Now then, young Naruto, it was a pleasure seeing you in action earlier. As an invitee of the symposium, I was allowed to observe from the gallery, after I twisted some arms.
I was gonna say, that doesn't seem like a thing that they would just let you do.
And I must say, it was a truly exemplary performance.
Oh, well, thank you very much.
Although I'm fairly sure you omitted by Kazuma on the end there. No, please don't misunderstand. It was you who impressed me. How do you do that? Really? You didn't miss a step against Asagi, and we all know how capable he is. Really, to have matured into such a fine defense lawyer in less than a year is quite extraordinary. It's very kind of you to say so. Really nice to hear. Finally, anyone has told me unconditionally that I did a good job.
Inconceivable.
What I saw in court today confirmed what I've been hoping for. The favor I mentioned yesterday, Naruto, I trust you haven't forgotten? Oh yeah, you never told us what that was. Oh, no, you did mention something, didn't you?
But first,
oh my
we have
God.
something to report, Father.
I'm in hell. Of course. Shall we take tea while we discuss matters further? I wonder where Judge Jigoku has gotten to.
I'm committing crimes.
Ho ho! Have you seen my armband? Look at this, Professor Mikitova. Ah, Kazuma's armband. He was wearing that when he left for Great Britain. How curious. Doesn't strike me at all as odd to see you wearing it. It rather suits you. Oh. Are you intending to return it to him? Well, yes.
No.
I mean, it has his name on it. Now that we found out he's alive, it doesn't make sense for me to keep it. Well, if you ask me, I think Kazuma would be delighted to see you wearing it. Well, I'd feel honored if that were true. Anyway, let's about the Reaper.
Father, do you know the so-called Reaper of the Valley?
I've heard rumors. Some members of the judiciary explained it all to me yesterday. Of course, when I was visiting a student here in London, the Reaper was yet to emerge. Right, he didn't appear until after that case when the visiting students had already returned home. Lord Van Zieks, who was in the dock today. That was Barak, the younger brother of Clint Van Zieks, I believe.
That's right. And he's known throughout London as the Reaper. As you've heard, but the truth is, it wasn't him behind all those mysterious deaths. It was someone else.
I see. So what you're saying is there's been a professional killer at work here. Exactly. Someone by the name of Asashin, in fact. I beg your pardon? Did you say Asashin? You mean that Giselle Brett woman who was responsible for killing my great friend?
Oh no, a friend of yours.
Uh-oh.
It's happening!
Oh no.
Oh no, a friend of yours was killed.
Professor Mikitoba, I think perhaps we shouldn't discuss this right now.
Why do you want me to talk about John Wilson dying?
Because the friend the professor is talking about is Dr. John H. Wilson. And that's not something we want Iris to find out about. Not like this, anyway. In what context is it going to be okay, dude? You've had a lot of time. You've had so much time. We're going to discuss it right the fuck now.
Ah! I've just remembered something. Biscuits! This hotel has the most delicious-looking biscuits!
That was rather out of the blue. She's doing this deliberately.
I think I'll go see if I can purchase some. I wonder, would you like to come too, Iris?
Oh yes. You just tried to leave me behind.
Yeah, we gotta talk about this fast. That young girl is called Iris Wilson, is she? Yes, that's right. And she's the author of all those adventure stories starring the great Detective Sholmes. The name of the credited author isn't Iris, is it? It's Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, I know. That's the name of her father, you see. Her father? Dr. John H. Wilson. I was deeply indebted to the man for all the kindness he showed me during my time in London. That's why I was keen to reciprocate and invite him to the Imperial Yume University 4 years ago. But he was murdered last year by Giselle Brett. Why? Why would the hand of the Reaper stretch all the way to Japan? Iris knows nothing about that case, but it seems very likely that the victim, Dr. Wilson, was her father. Well, I can't say that we ever spoke about his family, so I don't know if he had a daughter or not. But I think I could say with some certainty that he was never the great detective's partner. So, it could have been another Dr. Wilson, you think? What are the fucking odds? Well, John and Wilson are both common names, after all. Still, it's probably best not to mention this to the young lady until we can be sure. That's what we thought, yes.
Oh, we're not sure if it's her father.
I guess. I guess John and Wilson are common names, but, like, what are the fucking odds, man? Jesus. We're back with cinnamon biscuits. Ooh, they smell delicious, Iris. I think cinnamon will go very well with the tea they serve here. Don't you, Susie?
Yes, I'm sure you're right, Iris.
Judge Jigoku. I haven't seen Judge Jigoku for a while, have you?
Guilty! Ha 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 ha!
But that guilty is still ringing in my ears. That's me. No, now you mention it, I haven't seen him since this morning, either. I suppose since the symposium's opening was postponed, he'll have gone to explore the Great Exhibition.
That reminds me of something you mentioned yesterday. About Judge Jigoku having once been in the dock himself?
Ah, yes. It was all tied up with that accursed trial. The closed trial of Kazuma's father. Seishiro was trying to mitigate Genshin's guilt, so he took to the stand to testify. But he got a little carried away and, actually managed to break the witness stand. Oh my god.
Oh my!
He also said some contemptuous words about the British Empire, for which he was charged. Oh dear. Although it's worryingly easy to imagine him doing that. Well, it was alright in the end. He was acquitted and we returned home to Japan together.
Thank goodness.
Ah yes, talking of Seishiro, I have a copy of the photograph we all took together here yesterday. Please. Oh no, what part of this is going to be important later? He's so
what
tall.
a lovely picture.
Certainly seems to shout, "We arrived in Britain." The commemorative photograph has been entered at the court record. I don't like that. That means something bad is going to happen with this. None of us had any idea what was coming when we took that, did we?
No, that's so true. Bestie.
So true, bestie.
So true, bestie.
The favor. So, you mentioned a favor that you'd like to ask me? Well, this fateful trial that you're fighting, one way or another, it will be over before long. And when it is, I'd like you to accompany me back to Japan. You want me to do... What?
Mother, what's the meaning of this?
Now, Susato, you should understand. You've seen how our courts work firsthand. Japan's judicial system is in its infancy, especially when it comes to defense.
Oh, you mean...
The Supreme Court of Judicature is in desperate need of a good defense lawyer. As soon as possible. Really quite urgently, in fact. But I've not even been in London a year yet. I've read all of Susato's reports. I'm well aware of your extraordinary talents. And having seen you in action with my own eyes earlier today, there's no question. You, Naruhodo, are precisely the man our country needs. Ugh.
So you'll be leaving then, Bruno?
But then, what am I supposed to do, Father?
You came here to serve as Asugi's judicial assistant. Huh. Oh yes, she's supposed to be Kazuma's assistant. Our government is still in the process of deciding how best to deal with his situation, though. You've always chosen your own path, Susato, and I trust your judgment. In this matter also.
Father?
Please, the pair of you, don't look so downcast. It's merely a suggestion, you understand. A hope, if I'm honest, but I won't force you. All I ask is that you consider it, and come to a decision by the time this trial concludes. Yes, all right.
You won't leave, will you, Runo?
I mean, we're only... I don't even know if we have a visa.
Sorry, Iris. I need to have my lineage be in Japan for 200 years.
And then at some point, we need to move to California, but only in the dub. The thought hadn't even crossed my mind. Up until now, I've just been trying to do what I believe to be Kazuma's will. But it turns out that he's still alive, so... where does that leave me? Well, if you'll excuse me now, I need to telegram government ministers and the Japanese police with this information about Asa Shin.
Of course, Father. Thank you.
I look forward to the next month's installment, Miss Wilson. Installment with one L.
Oh, good. And please do come to Baker Street sometime, won't you? We'd love to entertain you.
I would be delighted. The best of luck for tomorrow, Naruto. And give my suggestion your full consideration, won't you? Yes, I will. Going back home. And he's gone.
You know, Kazuma-sama has always meant a great deal to my father. I'm sure he'd love the chance to meet with him and talk to him about all this.
Yes, no doubt.
Asa Shin? Of course, it's so obvious.
Oh shit, how could I have neglected to consider the possibility before now? Ah, Mr. Schultz.
Early, where have you been?
Why, I joined you all for tea, of course. What an extraordinary question.
Has he been here the whole time?
I didn't notice you at all.
Sorry, I'm dying. 1 second. No matter, no matter. Anyway, to more pressing concerns. Mr. Naruto. Oh, yes? I must dispatch a telegram to your country at once. It is a matter of much urgency. To Japan, you must? Oh, hey, Sheep, thanks for the follow. What's up? To Japan, you mean? Pretty sure I got lost trying to see the Sonic movie. Oh, no! That damn hedgehog has taken another one.
What do you mean by that?
Ensorcelled one more.
Ensorcelled?
You heard me.
Can't just say ensorcelled like it's a normal word to use.
Tell me, to whom can I entrust the task? Quickly now, who?
Well... My father has just now left to send a telegram to the Imperial Police Bureau of Japan himself.
I see. Well, he looks reliable enough for a bearded fellow. What?
I don't think my father's sports could be considered a beard, Mr. Shums.
Yeah,
it's just a mustache.
It's a mustache and kind of sideburns. There's not a moment to lose. Kindly ask your trusty unshaven father to see this is sent.
I will, but what is it?
No questions at this time, if you please, Mr. Sato. All we can do is pray that for once, my deduction is awry.
The blue blur
Doesn't that
got blurred.
That skipped on its own. Doesn't that imply that your deductions are normally correct, Mr. Sholmes? Which isn't exactly... Now then! You may be surprised to learn that I am a very busy man. I certainly have no time to hide behind settees and eavesdrop on other people's conversations. So that's what joining us for tea meant. I leave the sending of this in your hands, then, my dear fellows. I'm definitely gonna read that. Wait a minute, Mr. Sholmes!
He just sort of ran off, didn't he? At quite a pace.
And left the unpaid bill for his tea behind, too.
I must catch up with Father at the telegraph office at once.
And I'll run and call us a cab. Straight away.
And there was me thinking everyone would be clamoring to pay Mr. Sholmes' bill. Do I have the note? Aw, damn.
No, Susanna just fucking yeeted off with it.
Damn, but I wanted to know what it said. I couldn't read it. It was small and in cursive. And probably not meant to be read.
Probably.
Well. I mean, do we go see Jaboy, I guess?
Not my boy.
He's not my boy. 2nd November, St. Sinners Hospital, Ward 3. Now listen, I like Sonic.
I got
so.
shoes and socks.
I got clothes. Various winter clothes and some video games.
These shoes are made for walking. And that's just what they'll do.
Yeah, Josh got some fresh kicks.
Pumped up. This is the ward where Mr. Vigil was brought, apparently.
To be frank, I'm a little worried about seeing him again.
The lawyer. Hello again.
Are you feeling better now, Mr. Vigil?
Yes, thank you. Somewhat better.
I'm so sorry to have caused you to... I mean, it was because of me. If I hadn't exposed your secret and forced you to remember things you'd obviously tried to forget.
The prosecutor was here until a few moments ago, too. You just missed him.
Oh, Kazuma beat us to it.
He said much the same as you. He was very apologetic. But the truth is, I brought all this upon myself.
Please, don't think like that.
Keeping it from Evie, my wife, all these years, I've carried such a sense of guilt. But that's not the worst of it. Over time, I obviously came to deceive myself as well.
It literally says graduation year, insert here, or like...
I assume just the year. Probably.
Okay. It's like... Because that first one kind of goes hard, though. I don't know why, but it does. I think it's so esoteric. What kind of printer? I want stats. I want statistics. You mean about your dismissal?
Looking back now, I'm beginning to think that perhaps Inspector Gregson didn't stumble across me by accident at all. I mean, he compensated me so generously for acting as his stand-in. He was clearly concerned for my well-being and doing what he could to help.
So perhaps Gregson knew exactly what had become of Mr. Vigil all along, then.
I'm sure this is just desserts for 10 years of lies and deception, but... It wasn't me that helped the professor escape 10 years ago. It wasn't me. I swear it. I swear it's true.
Oh, Mr. Vigil.
I'm sure you'd rather not dredge up even more from your past at this time, but... if possible, could you tell us exactly what really happened?
I want to. I need to get all this off my chest. I just want someone to tell me what I should have done.
Gregson's request.
Inspector Gregson was obviously engaged in a special operation of some sort. He was investigating something that even Scotland Yard couldn't know about.
Details of the Reaper's marks, yes. Sharper image smartphone photo printer. Nice.
Oh. Drink.
Drink? Fine, maybe I will.
It was when he had to carry out those investigations that I would take his identification and impersonate him.
Delicious. I love water. Give me that wet stuff. Put it right down my
You
hole.
love.
What?
Shut up. Shut
Okay.
up. I hate
You'd
you,
pretend to
shut
be the inspector and carry out investigations on his behalf?
up.
Oh no, never. A common street peddler couldn't possibly carry out a proper police investigation. All I would do was go to the specified location and make a little hoo-ha. Just something to leave an impression, so everyone there would think a detective called Gregson was here.
So, that's what you were doing on the day prior to the incident?
Thanks, it's a good hat.
Nice
I
hat.
like my small hat.
You're wearing a hat?
Small hat.
I forgot you have a hat on your new thing.
Small hat.
Small hat. That's
Very small,
small
hat.
hat.
Small now.
So you don't have to figure out the ears.
Well, yeah, exactly.
Yes, he asked me to make an appearance at the park on Lime Street for the Red-Headed League event. So, as usual, I flashed the inspector's identification around and was very vocal about my presence.
Smaller now.
But then you were taken prisoner by those red-headed fraudsters. Yes.
So, you would always make a point of showing Gregson's identification and generally being loud.
That's what the inspector asked me to do, yes. Well, that's one way of becoming a legendary detective, I suppose. Not a good one, though. And as you know, I suffered this bruising around my neck at their hands. But the following day, they kept their word and released me.
Without returning the inspector's identification to you, however.
We had arranged to meet in the Fresno Street room at 5 that day so I could report back to the inspector. But at the agreed time, that's when I heard the gunshot.
A prison escape.
It was at midnight on the 17th June 10 years ago. That was the time scheduled for the execution.
But the professor's execution never actually took place, did it?
Or rather, the execution itself must have been used to effect the plan of escape. I hardly dare to imagine what a chilling plan it was.
Barclay was renowned for being the highest security prison in the country. Everything that went in or out of that place was searched multiple times. But there was one notable exception. Or rather, one notable loophole. Something that was never questioned.
I have a feeling I know what that loophole was now. The coffins into which the bodies of the executed convicts were placed, correct?
Yes. Once the coroner had confirmed the death of a condemned convict, the body was taken in its coffin for immediate burial in Lowgate Cemetery just behind the prison. The chief warder first had to sign the necessary papers. And after that, no member of staff was permitted to touch the coffin containing the body again.
Gasp.
When executions took place, only the executioner and the coroner were permitted inside the chamber. I would wait in the adjacent room for word that the condemned convict was dead. On that occasion, once I had that confirmation, I went into the mortuary to find a lone coffin as usual. The procedure was that I would sign the paperwork having checked the coffin and then nail it shut. But for some reason that day, the coffin was already nailed shut.
No!
I didn't think anything of it at the time. I assumed that my deputy must have checked the coffin and nailed it shut before I arrived.
So, you mean the coffin contained...
Yes, I can only imagine that Asugi, having escaped his execution somehow, was alive inside the coffin. The coffin was then taken out through the main gates and deposited in Lowgate Cemetery.
Presumably, there wouldn't have been enough air inside to breathe for very long.
So in the early hours following the burial, somebody dug up the coffin again to set Genshin free.
But in the end, he was fatally shot in the graveyard anyway. What on earth happened in Logan Cemetery that night, I wonder?
Yeah, I did find it weird that we never find out who the fuck shot him. Glad that is being followed up on.
I'm afraid I really don't know. All I can say with certainty are two things. Asugi couldn't possibly have escaped that way without help from somebody working in the prison. And that somebody was not me.
Alright. The convict, Asugi. Obviously you knew the man then. The professor, I mean. Genshin Asugi.
Yes, I remember him well, in fact.
Would you mind telling us what you know?
Well, having been condemned to death as he was, any contact I had with the man was short, obviously. After that trial, which was carried out behind closed doors, attended only by elite members of the judiciary, they called out for his execution to be carried at the earliest possible opportunity.
The outcome of the trial was set from the beginning then, wasn't it?
It was a time of delicate diplomacy, when Britain and Japan were in the process of signing an important treaty. That meant that this potentially destabilizing case had to be dealt with swiftly and discreetly.
The man had less than a week in total. As I was the chief warder, I oversaw his short stay in the cells until his final hour. I remember being struck deeply by his noble character and incredible resilience.
What do you mean exactly?
He was the killer of many men, but he was always quiet and polite. He was a gentleman and a man of intellect. In fact, I couldn't bring myself to believe what he'd done, so I asked him one day. Those 5 members of the aristocracy whose lives were taken, were you really responsible?
I'm guilty of the unforgivable crime of ending another human's life, yes. Following day, that weird that he didn't just say yes, he fucking specified. The following day, the
How
closed trial took
suspicious.
place, and the verdict was no surprise. Guilty.
That night, when he was brought back to his cell, I saw something. Something unusual.
Something unusual? What?
The last will and testament of Genshin Asugi.
Oh?
As I said, it was on the night following his trial, after he'd been found guilty. I was doing the rounds of the cells, and when I looked into Asugi's, I noticed that he seemed to have a sheet of paper in his hand.
Ah, his last will and testament then, presumably.
As soon as he noticed me, he hurriedly shoved it behind his back.
But why did you find that so unusual? Isn't it normal for a man to pen his will when he knows death is nigh?
Yes, that's true, but there were special conditions to Asugi's incarceration, you see.
What sort of conditions?
Well, even though he was held in a cell designed for condemned inmates, he was allowed to keep his personal effects with him, with one exception.
Really? He was allowed his things? That is unusual, certainly.
Of course, he'd been convicted of killing 5 members of the aristocracy, but at the same time, he was a guest in our country from the Empire of Japan. The powers that be were determined that his final days shouldn't be needlessly uncomfortable.
And what was the exception you mentioned to the personal effects he was allowed? They let him keep his sword.
That's the point. He wasn't permitted to have writing materials. Specifically, no pens or paper.
So, he was prevented from leaving any written record of what happened to him?
Yes, that was the long and the short of it. I've no idea where he obtained that paper. Any writing materials would have been confiscated from him upon his incarceration. As I said, he hid the paper behind his back, and then he pleaded with me. What did you just hide behind your back?
Please, please turn a blind eye. This is my lifeline.
But you know it's against the rules.
You're the only person who's seen. If you just agree to keep quiet, I keep on doing fucking, Mikotoba for some reason.
All right then, but what's on that paper?
The last will and testament. This will is the only weapon I have left now.
How can a will be a weapon? So I decided to pretend I'd seen nothing, and I let him keep his will. Then later, it just seemed to vanish without trace.
What? What do you mean it vanished?
It would seem that this isn't the end of the story about this mysterious will.
Oh man, is it still in there? Did you like shove it in the rocks?
I was the only person who saw Asugi's will, but somehow it disappeared. It was after Asugi's execution, which was actually an elaborate jailbreak. The warders gathered up Asugi's possessions that were in his cell. They were all to be sent back to his family home in Japan, you see. Poor Kazuma... Nope, that's not me.
Poor Kazuma-sama.
And you're saying that it wasn't anywhere to be found and amongst his personal effects. The will, I mean.
That's right, though I didn't search through them myself. But Governor Kaiden was livid. He was screaming, "Can they have disappeared completely?"
How did he find out about it?
That doesn't quite make sense, though, does it?
In what way?
Well, we'd understood that only Mr. Vigil was aware of the will's existence. In which case, how did the prison governor know to look for it?
Oh yes, you're right.
I really don't know how he knew, but it certainly seemed as though he knew of the will's existence from the outset. Only he didn't refer to it as a will. What he said was... the Asogi Papers.
Oh. The Asogi Papers.
Really can't tell you anything of the subsequent events. Because, well, of what happened.
Your dismissal and the way you blocked it all from your memory.
I'd forgotten all this until today. I don't suppose it's relevant to the case, though.
Well, anyway, thank you very much for sharing it with us, Mr. Vigil. We're very grateful.
I'm afraid there's really little more I can tell you. My wife Evie will be here shortly, so I do hope I don't appear rude, but...
No, not at all. Thank you again.
But what will become of you now?
Well, impersonating a police officer is a criminal offense, of course.
I was gonna say, he didn't commit any... Lying to your wife isn't a crime, but that part is.
Oh, but it should be.
I imagine that once I'm fully recovered, I shall be arrested.
I'm so sorry.
Don't be, please. This was all my own doing. I always knew that this day would come.
Well, I wish you well. Goodbye, Mr. Vigil.
Ah! Before you go, there's just one thing.
Oh,
One more thing.
yes? What is it?
The Asogi Papers.
Huh?
I'd be very grateful if you'd make no mention of the things I told you about them.
Presumably for some good reason?
It's my understanding that their very existence is a closely guarded secret. If it became known that I'd remembered, well, it could be rather troublesome, I think.
I understand. So we're gonna go mention this to Van Zieks right now, huh? Some sort of will that Genshin Asugi penned right just before his death. which the man himself claimed was his last weapon. I wonder. Perhaps it had something to do with his plan to escape. If there's anyone who might know more about a document that Cosmo's father left behind. It would be Mr. Vigil's governor.
We know precisely where we must go. Back to Barclay Prison.
Why the fuck would he talk to us? What are you talking about, guys? Hold on, I want to click on this man. Click on the sad man bed man. Well, at least he seems to be on the mend.
You know, his disguise as Mr. Gossip was really quite masterful, wasn't it?
I can't remember anything about it except for the floppy lip.
Imagine not even his wife would have recognized him.
Perhaps, but did he really have to take it quite so far? You just hear him moaning the entire time as we leave. Alright, well I guess we're going to the prison governor's office. Shit, I don't think this fool is gonna say anything. Why would he? 2nd November, Barclay Prison, Governor's Office. Hello again.
Oh, back again, are you?
Yes, hello.
I've heard all about your investigations. I read the report just now. You found him, eh? Vigil.
Yes, luckily.
Well, anywho. Glad he doesn't even work here anymore. So it's your case is not to do with Barclay. I wouldn't like you to get the wrong idea about that.
Of course, yes. Mr. Vigil stopped working here 10 years ago now, so... Yes, we've seen his dismissal notice, haven't we? He was given the chop.
Aye, Kimmer. You can very well. How about a wee handcuff biscuit?
Oh, they really are like little handcuffs, and hard as irons, too.
So, what's brought you down here today?
Well, there's something else we'd like to ask you about, actually.
Is that so?
It's a hell of a crunch. We believe
Love
there
that
might have been a
crunch.
document that disappeared from Genshin. You're just gonna start with that, alright. From Genshin Asagi's cell. I think it's been called the Asagi Papers or something. Holy shit, I can't believe he just fucking came out with it.
Did I no say Gregson's death is not to do with things that might have happened at Barclay? Leave the past in the past, laddie. Let's not further about with the irrelevant details.
His expressions changed completely. We're clearly onto something here. Can we click on things now that he's in the room? We never got to click on things. I keep on trying to click on things in here and it won't let us. This grandfather clock is...
It's fitted with a terrifying blade that keeps dropping down.
And the glass is broken on it.
It's modelled on the guillotine. A French execution device. You might have heard of it. And yes, before you ask, it can chop.
Heads off, you mean?
Havers, no. Carrots and parsnips and so forth. Oh, you place a large carrot on the bottom there in the morn by evening. You have been cut clean in two.
It takes that long?
Well, the blade must have an almost indescribable edge on it then.
Man, I feel like it would still hurt quite a bit. Guns! An axe, a hunting rifle, and 4 pairs of handcuffs. That's a daunting collection.
There's a story behind every one of those.
You mean, the rifle was a famous killer's murder weapon, and the axe was wielded by an infamous executioner? And the handcuffs were once used to immobilize a fierce 4-legged beast when it was arrested?
I think you're in the realm of fantasy now, Mr. Naruto.
Not those kinds of stories, Jimmy. The axe was the one I used to chop down the cherry tree at my house. Mrs. Caden was named best pleased.
Uh,
The cuffs on the left are the ones I caught me first burglar with back when I was a bobby. Purple burglar alarm.
The stories were a little different to those you imagined, I think, weren't they?
yes, to my relief, and in some small way, my disappointment. What's up with your fucked up bird? I never expected to find a parrot in a prison. That is not what a parrot looks like. It must be the governor's pet.
Even where we are, it's hard to see the poor thing. It's hard not to see the poor creature as a prisoner.
Let me out! Do not kill me!
Ah!
Has the bird learned to mimic the plaintive cries of the inmates in the cells?
Oh no, he's one of 3 siblings, you see. I still calls out the name of his 2 brothers like that all the time.
I'm sorry, what? Right. Let me out! Do not kill me!
Aye, I hear you, laddie. You want your dinner, eh? Didn't they do it?
That's incredible. What a bird. That's a very large cabinet full of papers, isn't it? It's labeled Inmate Register, look. And all the files are in alphabetical order.
That's 50 years worth of records of Barclay's inmates. Whether or no they left alive after serving their term. All details about the crimes they committed are recorded in there. Like an epitaph, you might say.
Record of crimes and punishments. How dispiriting.
And yet, this man seems to be enjoying tea and biscuits as he talks about it. Anything else? The desk? No, the desk is nothing, apparently. Couch, also nothing. Photographs.
I suppose these are all former governor of Barclay Prison, are they?
Either that or former inmates who the governor has sent to the gallows.
Oh dear, they have such severe expressions. I really couldn't deny either possibility.
Especially the one on the extreme right. His expression goes beyond severe into a whole new territory.
That one's me.
Ah! I'm terribly sorry, sir.
Is it a prerequisite of the job, perhaps? Having a severe expression, I mean?
Of course it's not. Though, it's taken into consideration.
A lot.
Whoa.
You have to have a fucked up face if you want to get into this job. You gotta look fucking serious as shit, laddie. You have to look like you've never told a joke in your life. Oh, there's a deer head up here. I only just noticed that. That deer head has been staring at me for a while now.
It has?
The poor thing can't fit through the small hole in the wall, but it just can't get its head out. But it can't get its head back out again now either.
Just
It's
like
giving
my
me a
other
woefully imploring look. I hope that's a joke, Naruto. It's hard to say.
It's not real, Mr. Naruto. It's stuffed.
What? Oh my god. I mean, yes, of course it is. For a moment, I thought it was another assassin sneaking in via the ventilator.
I don't like to say, but I think perhaps you need to reread The Adventures of Sherlock Holmes.
No. Alright, just one thing.
What's that there, then?
It's actually the sign of a Japanese defense lawyer.
Well, you have to wear something like that to prove who you are. Perhaps I should wear these handcuffs, eh?
I think maybe they're more of a sign of the people you catch than yourself.
Aye, that's true. You got me there, hen.
They're not actually a sign of anything, are they? All right. Anyway, now that we've fucking gone over your entire room with a fine-tooth comb and then showed you our band, now we can speak. 10-year-old legacy.
That murderer's botched execution. The whole miserable escape. They were Barclay's darkest hour. A shocking embarrassment.
Because the convict had a collaborator on the prison staff, you mean?
Aye. For shame. The coroner who confirmed the death of the man after his execution, Courtney Scythe. And my chief warder at the time, Vigil, was in charge of the whole affair.
But Mr. Vigil says he didn't know anything about it.
They're asking when they say otherwise, eh? More handcuffs?
Oh, how could I say no? You can never have too much iron in your diet.
I think that's not true.
When Mr. Vigil was handed his dismissal notice as a result of what happened, he was so despairing he jumped out of your office window, didn't he?
I didn't like to say. That's just Vigil trying to get out of it.
Well,
Do you not think he wouldn't have jumped from the shock of the crimes being exposed, eh? I do.
you wouldn't say otherwise, though, would you?
Of course, I can should know the responsibility myself. I shouldn't have let him deceive me. Actually, there's barely anybody that kens what went on at the time now. With Gregson having been murdered, Dr. Scythe forbidden from having any visitors.
No visitors. Someone obviously doesn't want her giving anything away.
Well, we're not going home empty-handed.
And I wouldn't dream of sending you packing without Kimura. Well, not Kimura. Here, take a handcuff or two.
Oh, well, it would be rude to say no. Wouldn't want to become anemic.
I suppose if there's anybody who might still ken about what happened back then, it'd be that lass from the forensic division, Maria Gori.
Maria Gory?
Aye, Scythe's daughter.
Oh, it is her daughter.
Ah, okay.
So she does have just a completely different last name.
So it would seem.
We discussed that. A name that is not her mother's maiden or married name.
A third secret name.
A third secret name that will help us later.
She didn't have no more, just the one. But the wee bairns followed in her lamb's footsteps. He didn't ever see her with a scalpel in her hand.
Ah! That freak in the mask. I don't remember. I think you
It was
took
you.
It wasn't me?
Was it?
Because
And wasn't it?
I was the mom.
Because you did the. You're
Yeah.
the mom. Was it? What were you doing?
I have no idea. I don't remember.
Well, you made the mom Russian. I could just do also a bad Russian. What if I did Russian, but I didn't pitch my voice up at all? I was just like, Mama, what is this?
ah,
That
well,
sounds a lot
Where did
like
she spring
fucking
from? And did she just call the doctor Mama?
Mama, what is this?
Dr. Scythe's daughter, Maria Gory. We could do with talking to her. Gory. So she's Dr. Scythe's daughter, but her surname is Gory?
Aye, there's some family history, I'm sure, but I didn't ken the ins and outs of it. She grew up watching a man working with the bodies of the folk who died in strange circumstances. I decided to do the same with her own life. How can I understand it myself?
Perhaps she was driven by a deep respect for her mother. Or maybe she's a freak.
Perhaps. Anyway, She was in charge of Gregson's autopsy, I believe.
Is that true?
Yes, that was the name on the thing. Because that's, remember we talked about before?
Yeah. I like how it says
And
time
you
of
had
death and
mentioned-
it's just not written down. She just didn't do it.
Yeah. And you had mentioned, you're like, man, Wanda, that's Dr. Sight's daughter. And I went, but that's neither her name nor her
Yeah.
married name.
Strange.
Turns out I should have just fucking known, I guess.
Right, and the coroner responsible for this incomplete report.
Maybe she's, like, adopted and kept the last name?
Could be, could be.
I don't know.
Someone told me once that the wee lass always loved her mum's stories about cutting up bodies.
Hmm.
There's even the rumour that she used to listen to the funeral march as a lullaby.
Hmm.
Well, then perhaps her mother might have told her about the autopsy from the case 10 years ago.
I'd say there's a fighting chance at least. After all, it was a life-changing case for all of us.
We really need to speak to Miss Gory herself about this, I think. Well, thank you very much.
I'm not happy about any part of this. It took years for Londoners to finally forget the whole professor business. Can you now get up with this lie? Stop asking pointless questions.
I'm sorry, I don't like dredging up these painful memories for everyone.
Can you now just stay away now? Leave me alone and do not come back here, eh?
Unlikely. The Osugi papers, if you please.
How do you ken about that, laddie? There's no many folks even here in the prison who've heard of those papers.
Ah, well, I can't tell him Mr. Vigil told me. Ah, Mr. Vigil told you that. We can all read your mind, laddie.
I'm afraid our sources must remain confidential, sir.
We've been led to believe the papers are actually a last will and testament, is that right? The professor's, or rather, Genshin Asugi's.
Hey, that's right. You're well informed, Jimmy.
Oh, is that the end of the silent treatment? But then after the convict's execution, it mysteriously vanished from his cell, didn't it?
However, no. You're off a half cock there. I think you didn't quite get your facts straight.
My cock, it's half.
Half cock, half cock.
She took it in the divorce.
My wife got half of my dick. It's crazy.
She got
She
half
already
of
had a
everything.
whole one. She's got a dick and a half now.
It's not
That's
fair.
so fucked up. This is Joe Biden's America. What were we doing? Oh yeah.
It was there in the cell, exactly what it should have been.
Oh, not what we heard elsewhere.
Let me just have a wee hook up around here. I'm sure I can find it.
Oh, shite, it's gone.
Hey, here you are. See?
The last
These are
will
like
and
definitely
testament of
fake
Genshin
papers, huh?
Asugi. Oh, for sure. Written with a calligraphy brush.
Of course, I can't read a word of those Japanese squiggles. But I mind it says he leaves all his worldly possessions to his son back in his homeland.
Yes, that's correct. That's the gist of it.
So these are the Asugi papers?
Aye, of course they are. Papers written by Asuki. No doubt about it. There's no mystery here, laddie. That's your lot. But all that's Dramash or that slice there of an
Jesus.
execution.
What a sentence.
We sent the man's possessions back to his clan in Japan. That was the end of it.
I think we ought to make a record of this, Mr. Naruto. Just in case.
I want to know what those say. One thing... Oh, that's not me.
Stop it. That's mine. You can't have it.
Sorry, I'll give him back.
Give him back to me. Return him.
One thing before you go on your way, Mr. Naruto.
I, Genshin Asuki, hereby request upon my death that all my material possessions and wealth belonging to me in London be delivered to my son Kazuma Asuki in the Empire of Japan. It is with deep sadness that I accept my fate in this foreign land and the knowledge that I will never see my homeland or family again, but I regret nothing about my chosen path. I mean, nothing on the face of that seems suspicious.
Right.
Oh, yes?
These papers are not to do with Gregson. I prefer if he didn't make no mention of him at this office. Or rather, I would just prefer it. Consider it an order from the highest levels of your government.
I understand. I'm about to mention some papers to some people, I think. Goodbye.
See ya, nerd.
Back to the prison, maybe? Hello? I mean, you wouldn't know anything about these probably, right?
What's that?
Ah, it's just something I was hoping to ask your opinion about, that's all.
It's a serious crime for the defense to attempt to extract information from the prosecution by illegal means.
I think we have more of a defense and client relationship now, don't we? Just doesn't answer. Just gives you a look like, come on, man. Alright, you were not the right option, I guess. We haven't been back here. Let's see, is there anything new in Fresno Street room? 2nd November, room on Fresno Street. It doesn't look like it. In fact, I don't even think there's new people here. No, these are the same 3 people. They haven't moved in an entire day. Maybe
Listen,
Kazuma's
they're
back
really,
now?
They're really thinking.
2nd November, prosecutor's office. Ah, the prosecutor. Kazuma.
I thought it wouldn't be long before you paid me a visit, Ryunosuke. I was right about what I said, wasn't I?
Sorry?
That you have all the markings of a great defense lawyer.
Well, I always believed that you'd fulfill your dream of advocating in the British courts. I just never imagined for 1 second that it would be as a prosecutor.
Seeing you stand in a foreign courtroom, so gallantly realizing your dream, Kazuma-sama. I'm truly happy for you. And I am truly thankful to you, Judicial Assistant Mikotoba.
That's real, and I love you, random citizen energy.
Citizen, I know. Ryunosuke, wait. Oh yeah, it was me. Never mind. Ignore my weight. I got confused. I do that sometimes. I always thought it would be fun for you and I to shake up the British legal system a little together. This isn't quite how I envisaged it. Wow, I don't like saying that word.
Yeah, that's a weird one.
I suppose it's just another twist of fate.
I've learned a lot of things during my time in London. About how Susato-san's father was himself a visiting student here once, along with Judge Jigoku. And about what happened with your father.
Then you have no difficulty understanding why I had no choice. Why I had to find a way to get to Britain as a visiting student myself.
I want to hear it from you, Kazuma.
As you wish, Ryunosuke Naruto.
First, I'm gonna look at your weird mini crime scene that you've assembled for some reason, and your bats. But the mini crime scene first. Sorry, something about the little fake Gregson really got me.
Like, Wade's face down.
What the?
What? It's a scale model of the crime scene.
Oh, yes, I realize that. Does the prosecution office make a model of the scene for every single case?
Apparently so.
Oh,
Sometimes it helps to visualize things better and notice things you hadn't spotted before. Actually, the miniature notice board is my work.
be honest, you enjoyed making that. I love crafting little contraptions and gizmos. Bats! Ah! Wah!
You disturbed the bats, did you? Fitting companions of Lord Van Zieks, wouldn't you say?
Actually,
Not that he's a vampire.
I've seen things flying in Lord Strongheart's office too. Doves, I think.
Perhaps you have to like birds to attain rank in the judiciary here.
Bats are not
Bats
birds,
aren't
Kazuma.
Bats aren't birds, Kazuma. Oh,
Okay.
okay, fine, all right. Although bats aren't birds, of course.
How about a sparrow for you?
What's that supposed to mean?
Oh, nothing. Sorry. I'm just thinking out loud. I look at you and I think sparrow, I guess. Lights, candles, candles. Casks,
Action.
casks, floor to ceiling, just like the last time we were here. Hallowed barrels, I suppose.
They range according to vintage, flavor, and region. Every week, they're all taken out and put back in order.
What? Every week?
Lord Van Zieks can't seem to settle on the perfect way of arranging them, you see.
I actually do get that.
Vintage, flavor, and region don't neatly coincide. That's the trouble.
Gosh, being his apprentice must be a real challenge.
Actually, no.
Oh?
He considers the task too important to entrust anybody else, so he does it entirely on his own.
So he's a barrel of laughs here and in court, then. Shut up. That's an incredible thing to imagine, though. We can't click on your shitty little desk. Or this contraption. Flint. Do you know who the man in this portrait is?
Yeah, do you not know? Why would I?
What? But you're Lord Van Zieks' apprentice.
Yes, apprentice, not friend. And during the time I was suffering from amnesia, I didn't even notice that picture.
Oh, really? I mean, it's not the smallest picture.
I wouldn't have the first idea what the man decorates his office with.
Would you like to know? No. When I'm going to sleep, but F it, I hate falling asleep. Yeah, so it goes. I've
So
been
it
having trouble
goes.
sleeping because my wife was out of town. Sucks.
I sleep great. I go on a walk, I eat a snack, and I conk the shit right out.
Josh is like healthy or some shit. It's ridiculous. There's Lord Van
I
Zieks.
went on 2 walks today. I found a big leaf as big as my face.
It's true. It was a large leaf. He took a picture. It's a really good leaf.
I took a picture. It's such a big leaf.
It's a kick-ass leaf.
And then there was a balloon floating on the river. I don't know why.
There's Lord Van
was
Zieks'
really weird.
incredibly stylish desk.
It's not my style, though.
No, I noticed you've
Okay.
been working at the little table on the floor, kneeling down Seiza style. I thought it was some kind of punishment set up by Lord Van Zieks when I first saw it.
I find it the most comfortable way to work.
I can't do it. After a couple minutes of sitting with my legs folded under me, they start to go tingly. Word.
Don't exaggerate, Ryunosuke. We both know you can't even manage a minute.
Haha. If I was straight, I too would be able to fall asleep. Damn. Maybe that's it. I just have to will the gay out of my body, and then I'll be able to have a nice little honk shoe.
Dude, yeah, awesome. Damn, I didn't know that was my buff. Fuck, someone should have fucking told me.
Lord Van Zieks' fine collection of hallowed chalices and bottles, all neatly lined up.
Yes, he's extremely particular about that. Is a strict regimen for everything, from the storage of the casks to the bottling of their contents.
Gosh, you must be having a really tough time of it being his apprentice.
Actually, no.
Oh?
He's so particular about it all, he refuses to let anyone else touch any of it. So it's been quite easy for me, in fact.
Talk about weird. Hey, come on, man. You let the man have his weird little hyperfixations, all right? All right, I said weird too. It's fine. You're disappearing.
You folded so quickly to yourself.
It's getting on for a year now since what happened on the SS Borea. We were heading across the oceans from Japan to Great Britain. And he wrote falafel on the ground. When a bizarre series of coincidences led to those tragic events. I thought I'd lost my best friend forever.
I must have been unconscious for a long time. When I awoke, I was lying on a bed. It was a narrow little room. There was a posy of flowers by the pillow. It took me a little while to realize I was in the cabin of a ship. I slipped out of the room and headed up onto the deck.
Were you already suffering from amnesia at that point?
Yes, I didn't know what had happened or where I was. There was just this voice in my head.
I'm
Would this
assuming
be
this is his own voice,
his own?
but I'm guessing.
Yeah, okay. It must be, right? Because otherwise that
Unless
would
it's
be
Herlock Sholmes for some fucking
Force?
reason.
Yeah.
Because he was the only one that knew about it.
It's me in your head. Have something you have to do. Something no one else can know about.
Always remember who you are.
Go to Great Britain.
You must head to the Dagobah system.
The phrase "go to Great Britain" is crazy. It's like a real "go to Ohio" moment. Go to Great Britain. Your task awaits you there. It was a calling I couldn't ignore. It compelled me relentlessly. Out on deck, I saw that it was on a large steamship. A huge steamship, and we were docked in a large port.
I'm breaking you off a source since it ate yours and I didn't have the program open.
My source is that I made it the fuck up.
There we go. A free one for you.
Well, free. It must have been Hong Kong.
Yes, it must have been. Presumably just before they were due to carry your body off the ship.
I had no idea of the situation, but I did have the feeling that this was in some way my last chance. So I concealed myself among the disembarking passengers, and I went ashore. Then I disappeared in the crowded streets of that foreign port city. So I could plan my onward journey to Great Britain.
Your journey to Britain.
It's under a year ago. With all my past memories lost to me, I was left behind in Hong Kong. Everything was foreign to me, the sights, the sounds, the smells. My head reeled. I was truly at a loss. It is now that I had escaped as a dead man, with nothing but the clothes on my back. No money, of course. Oh, how terrifying for you.
This would be a nightmare situation for me, and I have memories.
Ugly though, I had 2 feathers in my cap.
One being your knowledge of English, I suppose.
The other a pigeon. That's right, and on the back of that, I was able to pick up some work as a deckhand on a cargo ship. Eventually, after calling in at countless ports, I finally arrived at Dover. That must have been some 3 months ago.
Your formidable tenacity of purpose showing itself again. I mean, the man had lost his memory and had literally nothing to his name, but he still managed to make his way to London on the opposite side of the world.
Of course, I had no idea why I'd moved heaven and earth to get here at that point.
So, how did you end up becoming Lord Van Zieks' apprentice then?
That can only be called an extraordinary stroke of luck, really. You see, I was stopped at the border because I had no papers.
Yeah, makes sense.
They took me straight to Scotland Yard. By sheer coincidence, Lord Strongheart was there to attend a meeting. That's when the second feather in my cap came into play. Would that have been your knowledge of the law? Yes, exactly. Lord Strongheart was curious about an Easterner with intimate knowledge of British law. He took me back with him to the Supreme Court and assigned me to the prosecutor's office.
Sort of insane. And then 9 days ago, you finally got your memory back after the trial involving Drebber.
Yes, I did.
Your father, Genshin. Ever since I first met you at Yume, you talked about your dream.
Mark my words, Ryunosuke. I'll be chosen as a visiting student. I'll make my way to Great Britain someday.
Did you know the entire time about what happened to your father here?
16 years ago.
What is the Miss Sir word I would use for non-binary? I don't know. I've thought about this, and I've never really come up with a satisfactory answer.
It was like the one time I was trying to figure out how you would say, like, if you were a parent of a non-binary person. Like, all of the ones sound a little insane. You could say, like, this is my child. But it's like, I don't know, none of them sound quite as
this
like,
is my spawn.
They all sound just a little weird. And maybe that'll just go away with time. But, like, I was really hoping I could find one. I think the one I like the most is This Is My Kid, but that's like a little kind of...
That's a little I can't remember their name core.
Yeah.
Like when you
This
call
is my...
kids sport
You could, if you have multiple kids, if you have multiple kids, you could call them, you could say, like, this is my youngest. That's a good one. Or like, this is my oldest, this is my middle. You could do that. That's a workaround. But if you've only got the one kid and they're non-binary, I just feel like none of them are a great solution. This is... Because it's like, you say, this is my child, I think is your best bet, but that just sounds a little weird, especially if they're like an adult.
Yeah.
Like,
this is my adult child.
Yeah. This is my pride and joy.
Yeah,
when my father left on that exciting trip to Great Britain, I was just a boy. We took a photograph. I was a boy down in South Illinois. We took a photograph together for the day before his departure. It's my last memory of him. I use their name. Well, yeah, you can say, like, this is so-and-so. Obviously, you're doing that for an introduction. But if you're trying to explain the relationship... But, like... I'm trying to say, like, if you're trying to explain the relationship, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Because, like, usually you do that in introduction, too. I don't just go, like, this is Steven. I go, this is my friend Steven, you know, to, like, give context. At least that's how I usually find myself wanting to say things.
I
But what I
understand.
remember most about my father is his unswerving sense of justice.
I love how he has his own tiny fake sword in that picture.
Steven, I
Who
believe, does all
who
of
does
Steven
my art? Yes, I do. I do all of my art. All of it? Yes, all of it.
6 years after he left, a gentleman called at our family home. He told me that Genshin, my father, had been taken ill in England and passed away. It was Professor Mikotoba, your father, Susato-san.
Hmm. Yeah, I guess they couldn't say he was executed by the state because that was a secret.
Oh my! Ever since then, the professor was very good to me. He even helped to fund my university education in UMass. I'll forever be in his debt. But nevertheless, I just couldn't bring myself to believe what he told me. Oh. And one day a letter arrived at our home from Great Britain. There was no indication of the sender, so I opened it, assuming it was from an old acquaintance of my father. What I read in that letter changed my entire life.
What did it say?
It said that my father had been a mass murderer, and the writer cursed the Asugi name.
That B or OC? I don't know. I haven't looked at my. I'll be honest. I haven't looked at my Kofu page in a while. I don't get any I don't get any emails from it, or notifications. So I just sort of assume that nobody has been doing anything on it. Then Zieks, I imagine, sent this letter. Probably.
Oh no! As a result of that letter, I found out what had been hidden from me all those years.
Letter from Britain.
Presumably the letter was sent from a relative of one of the victims.
I know that's a thing that happens in real life, but that's a fucked up thing to do.
Yeah. Like real fucked up.
Your dad was a mass murderer, and I hope you die forever, loser. I'm like, all right.
And you're stinky! If whoever it was had been a member of the judiciary, he could have been present at the closed trial. The letter revealed that my father had been sentenced to death, executed for being a killer.
I'm so sorry you had to find out that way.
I imagine the British government did its very best to silence whoever sent that letter. But someone who knew the truth and couldn't bear the resentment was always going to be a problem. But still, it could have been anyone. Written by anyone. Why would you believe such a thing? There was a newspaper cutting included with the letter. It was the first I'd ever heard of the professor and his terrible killing spree.
Who the fuck sent that?
Well, what did my father have to say about the letter? I couldn't bring myself to show it to him.
What? Why not?
Because he deliberately concealed the truth from me by telling me my father was taken by a fatal illness. That couldn't have been easy for him. And he'd done it out of consideration for my feelings.
Wow, what a bad thing for him to do. How dare you conceal the death of his father from him for no apparent reason? Well, I guess what he did was better than what we're doing. I was trying to make that joke, but like, he was at least saying like, yeah, your father is dead, but it was an illness. He wasn't a mass murderer. Whereas we're telling Iris literally nothing.
Literally
she
nothing
talks
at
about
all.
her father, and we just sort of smile and nod, which is I think worse.
So instead, I showed the letter to Judge Jigoku.
Ah, to the other visiting student.
He faltered for the briefest of moments, but then he just laughed and let her off. But in that moment, I saw it on his face. He was undeniably shocked, shaken momentarily, shook even, before recovering his poise.
Shooketh.
A year later, my bereaved mother succumbed to the strain of grief, and she too passed away. That's when I made up my mind that one day, without fail, I would cross the seas to Britain and seek the truth for myself. The truth about my father, Genshin Asogi. I wouldn't let anyone stand in my way. Oh, Kazuma-sama.
The Reaper's Trial.
What we learnt today in court turned things completely on their head. It was an impressive piece of lawyering, Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
Lord Van Zieks isn't the Reaper, you know. I almost don't want to believe it myself, but it turns out that Inspector Gregson himself, the victim, was...
It's clear that the inspector was behind the Reaper's activity all along.
What? You mean you knew?
The real question is, who's been giving orders to the inspector? Yes, Baroque Van Zieks is the real Reaper.
What?
And I know that 10 years ago it was him who decided my father must be a mass murderer and sent him to his grave. No, he was merely seeing that justice was done as the law dictates. He's not to blame. Ultimately, it's people who condemn people. The law is just a tool that they use to do it. Guns don't kill people. And when a man condemns another, he must take responsibility for his actions. Of course he must. But I know for certain that my father would never have taken another man's life.
Kazuma.
On the contrary, my father's life was taken by the Reaper.
Well, you know, I was gonna present the papers to him, but we can stop here. Slap him in the face with some papers next time. Look, it's your father's last will and testament. Busha! Alright, thanks for watching, everybody. Have a good night. We'll catch you, I don't know, at some point. I'm still not back on schedule yet. We'll see. Have a good night, everybody. Bye-bye.
Goodbye.